I'm John Buchanan. Now, as I've said many times on this channel, there is more than one way to skin a cat. Why do people use that expression? It's absolutely disgusting, isn't it? Why would you want to do that? Just a moment of thought there for a second. But the point I'm simply trying to make is that there is more than one way to achieve any particular musical outcome. And in fact, Logic provides many routes to potentially ultimately the same goal. The ultimate goal, of course, being us being able to make the sounds, program the patterns, write the notes, and produce the pieces that we want to write based on our own tastes and our own interests. But what we're going to do in this video is to explore the relationship between two approaches we could take to programming drums, toggling backwards and forwards between two different approaches in order to kind of get to where we want to get to kind of explore how we can get to a particular place and which approach we might take best suits our own creativity. It's going to be up to us to decide which of those routes we prefer. But we're going to start in a nice gentle place, which is that I'm going to build a little bit of a drum machine designer kit from scratch, because it feels like quite a long time since we've done that and you might have forgotten how. Maybe that's just me. Okay, let's see if we can collectively remember. So what I've done is to fire up Drum Machine Designer. And what I've got is a list of sounds waiting for me. And of course, every time I click on a pad, I can see the kind of outline of what that sound should be by default for the key that it's routed to. So I'm hovering over this one so that we can see the pad below, which currently says instrument 1, and it says C1, kick 1. So what I'm going to do is to hover here, and all I have to then do is to just audition through the kicks until I find something I like. Let's do that now. Let's go with Autumn Leaves. At the time of filming, that's an appropriate choice. If you're watching this in midsummer, I apologise, but it was there at the right time, I promise. Okay, what I'm then going to do is to move on to a kind of rim sound. So as I click on this pad, automatically Logic's browser will update to kind of point me in the direction of the rims. They are all in with the snares. So if I wanted a snare here rather than a rim shot, I'd have to scroll down towards the bottom, but we're going to go with a rim shot. Let's try a couple of these. No. Also no. I'm going to stop saying yes or no, because that's going to be annoying. Apologies if you're listening on headphones. Let's go with this. I think that's going to be too loud, but we can adjust that in a little while. So again, next time what I'm going to do is to click on the next pad, and this time we are going to come down to the snares. And I don't know why I said snares like that, so I apologise for that. Snares. I do like Autumn Leaves. Could have just loaded that kit, but we're going to just go with it. So this sound is going to be a clap. Actually, I didn't hate that. Let's go with that. That's not a great selection, is it, when you have to say, I didn't hate it. More than that. I quite like it. Okay, no, not going to go there. Another favourite. Let's go with that for now. And then rather than load every single sound, all I want is one more, which is going to be a closed hat. And then I think we'll have everything we need for now. I do like, what do I like? I don't know. I don't know what I like. Let's audition them. Midnight Silage. I did wonder if that said silage, but it doesn't. That would be too countryside. The countryside hi-hat. Okay, we're in good shape. I've got some sounds now, and we're going to go with these. I can obviously swap them out if I want to, and we may do that. But what we're going to do now is to move on to what this video is supposed to be about, which is how we might begin to start programming for these. Sort of by default, it feels like Drum Machine Designer and a pattern sequence are a really nice place to start. So let's start there. What I'm going to do is to make a pattern region. And because I've clicked in bar 5 to do that, that's where the pattern region is going to get made. I do want it to be there. So what I'm going to do is to put my Drum Machine Designer kit up here for a second. And of course, we know about this already. In order to create the pattern that we might want, all we've got to do is to click the notes into the spaces. So let's do that. Don't think I'm going to need that one. And let's try that. Okay, I'm going to keep this super simple for now. So by clicking on these spaces, what happens is that by default, I'm just turning on these particular grid locations. By default, that sounds like this. And we've seen that lots of times before. Obviously, by default, by simply switching on all of these individual locations, what simply happens is that all of these notes get put in at a velocity of 100. So the first thing that we might want to do when we're programming drums would be to say, well, some velocity variation might be quite nice. And of course, it really would be quite nice. This hi-hat is horrible at the moment because they're all in time and they're all the same velocity. So we can begin our variations by clicking on the velocity value tab here, and then we're in a position to obviously offset these. And again, this is something I've done many times on this channel before, just simply adding a different velocity value to each of these. I could probably make this a little bit taller so we can see this a bit more clearly. And maybe what we can also do is to zoom down so that you can actually see those values. So what I can do is simply to just kind of create offsets where the second one each time is a little quieter than the first one. And of course, we could do that for the other sounds too. I could close Drum Machine Designer so we can see these a little bit more clearly. And then we're in a position to maybe just get a bit of variation to the snares. Again, emphasize different kicks in different ways. And velocity is nice and easily controlled here as well. But maybe the next thing I might want to do would be to kind of offset exactly where each of these notes falls. So rather than them being absolutely on the grid, they're somewhere else instead. So what I'm going to do now is to come to this little drop-down menu, and now I have a chance to use the little offset button. Now what this allows me to do is to drag in either direction, either sending a sound late, which means that the kind of dark section of this individual square is now later, which is where the note will fall, or if I prefer, I can actually have it come in a little bit early. So I'm in a position to kind of decide where I want these to work. Now, graphically, this is the first kind of interesting little moment. I'm going to just turn off MIDI out so we don't hear these as I move them around. If I was working on a sort of regular MIDI region sequence now, moving these notes left and right would be much more obvious because I'd have all of the grid lines showing up and I'd be able to see which bar and beat I was in, and I'd be able to see exactly what was happening. But of course, here I'm sort of imagining those grid lines in the squares, in the gaps. So effectively, that's just kind of like a little graphical user interface change. So I'm kind of having to imagine where those notes start. But certainly any note that I push early doesn't move in terms of the kind of hard edge of it, for instance, but I can see that because it's kind of to the left, that note is early. It would be much easier for me to see that in the other interface. And when I was talking earlier about simply which way do you prefer to work, a lot of that does come down to what we like to look at when we're working with the notes that we're sort of programming and turning into patterns. Okay, let's hear how the hi-hat sounds now that it's off the grid. Well, it's wonky and I like wonky. So that's a nice place to start. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to use this little snare, which I programmed here, to provide a kind of little precursor roll into beat 4, which is where the rim shot and the snare and the clap all play together. And the way that I can do that within Drum Machine Designer is to come to repeat. And what that then allows me to do is to break this note down into a number of different sort of sized chunks. So in other words, if I leave this on 3, it means I'm going to get 3 notes in the space of where that 16th note falls. I can take it up to this kind of massively enormous 16. Does that say 16 or 18? I think it says 16. My eyes are starting to go. I'm pretty sure it says 16. We could start there. I think I really want 3, but it would be fun, wouldn't it? And if you ever want that kind of vibe of my electric toothbrush is failing, and you want that to be part of your beat programming, 16 is your friend. Okay, let's come back to 3, which is kind of what I was intending in the first place. Okay, so that's nice, but it's too loud. Well, we already know that what I could do would be to come back to the velocity control. Let's do that now, and let's just tuck that in a little bit. And that is nicer. It feels like a little bit of a drag, a bit of a grace note, and that's kind of fine. But here we run into the first really interesting moment, which is that if I turn this into a pattern region, which I am going to do in a moment, I think what we're going to discover is all three of those little snares are all the same velocity, and there is no way within the pattern region for me to do anything about that. That's just how it is. I can turn them all down as I just have. I can certainly adjust their fader within the little mixer section that comes with Drum Machine Designer, where I have a chance to see all of my drum sources, and then I'm in a position to say, actually, you know what, I want to turn this one down. Fine, I can do that. It doesn't change the fact that the kind of velocities at the heart of this roll are all going to be the same. And the other thing to say is that, of course, at the moment, the whole of this pattern is only 1 bar long. We're hearing it on a 4-bar loop, and again, there is no variation from 1 bar to the next. At this point, what might be quite helpful would be for me to turn this or convert it into a MIDI region. Now I can do that via the convert menu. It's up here for me because I've done this recently. But if you haven't and you can't see it, then it's going to be in the convert little menu here. And what we can do is to just drop down to convert to MIDI region. And look, there is an amazingly long and complicated key command for that as well, which looks like many of the kind of function keys plus M. Well, I'm going to just click it and then we're in good shape. So now what happens is, sure enough, I have a chance to see the notes that I programmed. And again, let's just make this a little bit bigger. And what we're going to discover is indeed that the velocities for those little rolls are all exactly the same. They're all this kind of green color. And I think it's fair to say that if I open up the automation MIDI option here, where we have a chance to see the MIDI values that have been assigned to all of these notes, there is that little roll and they're all the same. So if I wanted a real sense of this kind of rolling into the beat that came afterwards, this would be the place for me then to create some variations. Let's do that. Again, I'm going to turn off MIDI out so we just don't hear these as they play. And what I'm going to do is to create a nice little ramp of those, starting from something pretty quiet all the way up. And I'm in a position to do something different next time, where maybe the kind of emphasis on which note is strongest is different every time. And what we're starting to do is to build in some variation. And again, we can see, I think if I zoom in, that we're going to see exactly where all of those hi-hats have been converted across from where I move them. So straight away, visually, we're in a position to do that. But you can see what I mean about the fact that actually shifting the notes here is much more easily done in terms of thinking about exactly where they're going to fall and seeing where they fall. So weird little anomaly within Logic. If you click on a note and then hold down Control, you can move it incredibly across a very fine range. If you make the mistake of holding down Control before you click on it, you can do all kinds of crazy things to this note. So that's why this menu keeps popping up. So again, click on the note first and then you can decide where you want to put it. But you can see the offsets that have been applied to the hi-hats. Okay, I'm getting distracted. Let's make sure that we are also creating variations here for this last little collection of notes, where we're going to start in a really quiet place with that one, and then that one's going to be a little bit louder. That sounds like this. Okay, so that's easily done. The other thing that's really easily done here, in a way that it isn't nearly as easily done in the pattern sequence, would be for me to say, actually, you know what? I think in this very last bar, what I want to do is to drop those two notes. I just kind of want it to stop on beat 4 before it cycles back round. And maybe what I also want to do is to create a little bit of extra variation somewhere else, where I want to just take a kick drum, for instance, or maybe a snare. Let's do this with the snares. I suddenly decide that what I want is a much kind of busier pattern to start with. Let's just create something which is going to really give us a lot of variation very quickly. And then what I'm going to do is again create some velocity variations here as well, so that these all come through, again, sort of a bit like grace notes, just much less significantly strong hits. And that sounds like this. And I might decide that I want to have that also happen in bar 7. So I could take all of these notes and I could copy them across here. And again, this is going to be just so much more easily done in the note editor here than it's going to be within the region or the pattern editor, I should say. So again, we could create some variation there too. Let's just take all of those up in velocity so they're a little bit more significant this time round. So what happens if I decide that I want to now go back into the pattern region? Is that even possible? Can I take a MIDI region where I've created edits like this with little velocity variations, and can I take them back into the pattern editor? Well, let's try. I'm going to come back to the main page here. I'm going to come back to convert, and let's see whether or not I can convert this to a pattern region. Well, it says I can, so let's try. So when I do that, I'm going to get a little message from Logic saying not all MIDI region events could be converted to pattern region steps. Now, I suspect that that's mostly going to be those roles. So remember, what's happened in the pattern editor is that in order to create the roles, I made one event and then I broke it up into 3 slices. But it appeared as one event. Now they are 3 different events. They have 3 different velocity settings attached to them. So I'm going to press OK. I think we're still going to get a pattern region, sure enough. But interestingly, straight away, it's now converted it to 64 steps. Because do you remember, I created that little variation at the end where nothing happens in the last beats at the very end. And the pattern region has recognized that there is variation there that it can't simply reproduce in 16 steps. Whereas before we only had 16 steps, now we have more. Also, we needed those extra steps because I've created my snare drum variations in bars 5 and 7, but they're not in bars 6 and 8. So again, the pattern region has extended in order to give me those extra steps. If I click on the velocity value buttons, okay, great. So I can also see that the variations to the snares that I put in have been included. That's great. But sure enough, we're back to just one value for those snares. How does that actually sound from a roll perspective now? Are they going to sound the same? I don't know. And you don't know. And if we stop the video there, we'll never find out. We'll keep it rolling. So I think we're only getting one hit on those now. I don't think they are rolls anymore. They just appear to be kind of like one of the velocities that I assigned, probably the first one, I'm guessing. And we've lost any sense of that actually now being a roll. It couldn't convert those back. But everything else kind of has come back across. So that's kind of interesting. So what we've had a chance to do a little bit here is to explore the ways in which MIDI can be created when it comes to drum programming. And of course, the same thing would be true with you deciding that you might want to start a pattern sequence for a pitched instrument as well. It's interesting to see how easy or hard it is to change note positions, to change velocities, to create little rolls. The best way of being able to change the velocity on those rolls or rules even, the rules of the rolls. Yes, let's go with that. You can begin to see how all of these variations can be created, but which one is best for you is totally up to you. And often this kind of hybrid way of working where we start in one place and go somewhere else takes us into interesting territory as well. And that's before we even get into thinking about other things we could do within Drum Machine Designer. So within this video, we've kind of explored MIDI programming for drums, thinking about the pros and cons of working in different ways. And delightfully, no cats got skinned. Phew. Let's make sure that's always true.